everyone, and welcome back to the Green Witch Homestead. So it is Fermented February, and today is our fermentation video. So we here on the Green Witch Homestead, we are going to be doing a traditional German sauerkraut using the Mason Tops fermenting kit. And I am also going to show you a quick, simple, no electronics needed homemade yogurt, which actually substitutes as a really good sour cream if you don't add any sweetener to your yogurt once it's done. So for the sauerkraut, the most important thing that you're going to need is cabbage. Now we're going to show you how to take this and turn it into this. This is a batch of sauerkraut I started last weekend, and it is almost ready to go. You can see it's still kind of active with the bubbles here at the top. This is our Mason Top Ferment Kit, and the things that we're going to use out of that is this. It's called a pickle puck. It is a weighted glass topper for weighing down your ferments. This is your pickle pipe. This is what goes on top of your jar to allow the fermentation to happen. It has a little nipple that has a hole so air comes out but not back in. You can see this one here. And then this here, this is called your pickle packer. It's an acacia wood, not very heavy, but it's a really nice solid. And this is for packing down, making sure everything gets into your jar nicely. For making your yogurt, you're going to need a gallon of milk. Avoid anything that's ultra pasteurized. 1 little container of plain, it has to be plain, live culture yogurt, 4 quart jars, and 1 jelly jar. You're also going to need a big pot. You're going to need an old cooler or a new cooler if you want, and an empty 1 gallon container that you fill up with hot water. The 1 gallon empty container and the cooler are going to be what is called your incubator. You would take your gallon container, fill it halfway with hot water from your tap, and then top it off with boiling water from your kettle. Be very careful when doing this because I don't want you to burn yourself on the boiling water. Put that hot water into your cooler the very first thing, so that allows the incubator to come up to temperature while you're doing everything else. What we're going to do first is we're going to get our milk into our pot and we're going to heat it up slowly, stirring constantly so your milk doesn't burn to the bottom, up to 185 degrees Fahrenheit or 85 degrees Celsius. And then you're going to hold it there at that temperature for 15 to 20 minutes. After your 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to take that and you're going to pour it into a bowl and set it on your counter with a thermometer in it and watch it until it comes down to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So the yogurt's on the counter warming up, and the milk that we've heated is going to be cooling down. It's going to bring them to a closer temperature so there's not a shock to the culture that's in your starter yogurt. While we wait for the milk to cool, we're going to go ahead and get started on the sauerkraut. The amount of cabbage you use is 100% dependent on you and how much you want to make. You can do these in a quart jar, you can do these in a half-gallon jar, a gallon jar, you can do these in a 5-gallon bucket if you want. We're just going to do this one to a pint jar, so I just got a little head of cabbage. Now, the main thing, you want to peel off all of the bad leaves off the top of the cabbage. Other thing that you're going to need when you're doing sauerkraut is salt. This is important as well. You want to make sure that you have uniodized salt. It's better if it's a coarser ground. I like to use coarse ground kosher salt. You can use sea salt, you can use pink Himalayan salt, you can use whatever salt you like as long as it is not iodized. We're going to chop up our cabbage, and this part, a lot of people say do it as fine as possible, but it's really your personal preference. We like our sauerkraut a little bit chunkier, like to have something that we bite into. So I'm not going to worry or stress too much about how finely I chop my cabbage. So that gives us a good little shred right there, and it's not too much work to do. So you're going to take that and you're going to put it into your bowl. Alright, so once you have your cabbage in your bowl chopped up, this is where you take your salt, and your measurements for your salt are approximately 1 tablespoon of salt for every pound of cabbage. It's not, again, an exact science. The salt is mainly to draw out the juices and the moisture from the cabbage. So you're just going to sprinkle a little on, stir it around, and you want to get this coated fairly well with your salt. Then you're going to take your plunger and you're going to pound it. This is going to help break everything down and help get this fermented process started. Now once you have it nice and packed down, you're going to cover it. I'll just use a paper plate, and you're going to set it aside for about half an hour, 45 minutes to let some of that juice build up in your bowl. Now that the milk has come back down to 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 43 degrees Celsius, this is when you're going to add your cup of yogurt. This is the only time that you're going to have to add store-bought yogurt. The reason we have that small jelly jar set aside is that once we fill all 4 of our quarts, we're going to put the last little bit into the jelly jar, and that's going to be your starter culture for your next batch of yogurt. Give it a good stir. That's going to spread the lactobacillus bacteria that's in the yogurt culture into the entire batch of milk. And then we just add the milk to our jars. Nice and simple. It's a little messy, but you know. And then I make sure that I put my jelly jar up to the 1-inch headspace mark on the jar, and that's going to be your starting culture for your next batch of yogurt. Now remember, this is not canning, this is fermenting. So you're not going to have to worry about like sterilizing your rims or getting your lids on a certain tightness. In fact, actually try to avoid sterilizing around this as much as possible, except at the beginning when you clean, because you want good culture to grow and create your yogurt. So you're just going to put your lids on with your rings, and you just put them on. You don't have to be super tight, you don't have to crank them, you don't have to be loose or anything special. And then you're going to put these into our cooler, which should be nice and warm by now. So you're just going to set your jars in your cooler with that bottle of hot water and close the lid. As far as the yogurt goes, your part is done. You want to make sure that you put the cooler somewhere where it's going to stay out of sight. You don't want people messing with it, opening that lid. You want to keep that temperature in there as long as possible. And you just leave everything in there for about 9 hours, or like I usually do, overnight. And then tomorrow morning, you will have a nice fresh batch of homemade, live culture, good for your gut yogurt. At that stage, it's completely unsweetened and you can use it like sour cream. It literally tastes the same. Or you can add some type of sweetener like homemade jams. I like to put honey into mine. I don't add it to the whole jar, I just add it to my dish as I serve it. You can store it in your fridge for up to a month before it starts to go bad. You can also freeze them. While we were doing all that fun stuff with the yogurt, our cabbage has had time to settle, and you can see it's built up this nice amount of juice in the bottom. And that's what we are looking for. That's what we want. If it's doing that, you're doing good. So at this point in time, we can go ahead and transfer it to our jar. Just get your hands in there. Get messy with this. It's going to be messy. Sauerkraut's a messy thing to make. But you're going to get that in the jar there. And you're going to use your packer to get it down and give it a nice... You want it as tight in there as you can get it. If you don't fill up the jar, that's fine. The important part is to make sure that every bit of your ingredient, whether it's your cabbage or whatever you're fermenting, is under the level of the juice that you put into it. So if you have a half full jar, that's not the end of the world, as long as your juice level or your liquid is up there. Nice and tight. So I pack down just like that. Now I'm going to use all this juice into the jar. That's the good stuff. That's where all of our culture is starting. Everything, all the ferment is starting. I want to make sure we get all of that in the jar. Then we're going to take our puck and we're going to set it on top and give it a good press. So all of that liquid comes up above the cabbage. And that's it. Make sure you get any stray pieces of cabbage that might have stuck to the side. You want to get those out if they're not under the liquid. Then you take your pipe and you set it on top. And then you take your ring and you just screw it down. And that's it. Now, I added some celery seed to my cabbage. That's those little black spots that you saw. You can add whatever you want. Some people like to add pepper flakes. Some people just add black pepper. Some people like to add shredded carrots. You can really add whatever you want. The celery seeds is kind of a bit more traditional. Celery seeds are a little bit of a preservative, so it helps with that as well. But now that you've got your ferment all ready to go, you're just going to set it somewhere that you can keep an eye on it for the first day or so, because this is going to get really active really quickly. If you live in a warmer house, you want to keep a closer eye on it because your ferments are going to come alive faster in a warmer environment. If it looks like it's going too fast, move it somewhere cooler, like put it in a back room or near a windowsill if it's the winter time. Just that'll help control and regulate. Don't put it in the fridge. Once you put it in the fridge, you're going to stop all of your fermentation process, and if you haven't gotten far enough yet, it's going to ruin your batch. You want to leave it for at least a week. That's going to get it to that nice consistency. Now, we like to let our sauerkraut sit for about 4 weeks before we eat it. It gets it to that, it's that really nice, bite you in the back of the throat sourness. That's all that's required to make some delicious homemade live culture German style sauerkraut and some live culture homemade yogurt, which again, like I said, unsweetened is a perfect sour cream substitute. Both of these are live foods which are going to have beneficial bacteria to help with your digestive system and your gut. And don't forget, this is our Fermented February video. So here on the Green Witch Homestead, if you're interested in winning your very own Mason Top fermenting kit, then make sure that you're subscribed to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment down below as to why you want to get into fermenting or what your favorite ferment recipe is. Don't forget to check out all the other videos that are participating in this collaboration. The link will be down in the description of this video, as well as in the description of my introduction to Fermented February video I did a couple days ago. For 2 more chances to win a Mason Top kit, go to Anna's page, find all the list of people that are participating, and comment in each of the videos that you see throughout the month of February. We will do the drawing at the end of February for our winners. Good luck to you guys. Thanks for watching, and remember, get your hands dirty.